This TFMR podcast is brought to you by your friends at JM Bullion. Visit jmbullion.com for all your gold and silver bullion needs.
Welcome back to your TF Metals Report podcast highlights for the last week of September, last week of the quarter, 2022. We began the week on Crash Watch. We've been on Crash Watch all month for all markets. And we finished the week on Crash Warning. More on that as we go through the week. But on Monday, we attempted to show again the relationship between real interest rates, gold, the S&P 500, and just about everything. Real interest rates are rising rapidly, as you can see by the falling TIP ETF. And in these charts that we discussed on Monday, you could see that relationship.
All right, then here's your concern, obviously. This is the last 5 years of the TIP as a measure of real interest rates, with gold first as a blue line. Now, I don't think this necessarily means gold's got to go all the way down to $1,350 to catch down to it. But gosh, gold could certainly go down toward where it was, when everything blew out in March of 2020. What was that? 15 and change? 15.25? Certainly do that. But look at stonks too. Again, last 5 years with the S&P, the SPY against it. Well, that's what I mean by how in the hell is this holding in there? I mean, this looks like the SP could fall all the way down here to 240. That'd be 2,400. Where are we now? 3,600. Now, could it fall that far? Well, again, the last time the TIP was down here, that's how far it fell back in March of 2020. That's what I mean. This could, in stonks, could get real disorderly really fast and really freak people out. It is a definite possibility. Skies are swirling. We are now on Crash Warning.
On Tuesday, the 27th, we covered a lot of things, but one of the things we discussed again was the clueless academics at the Fed, how they think they know everything, and the media treats them as demigods that are omnipotent, when in fact, they're just a bunch of losers that never had jobs outside of the Fed. They don't know anything. Think inflation is transitory as an example. Anyway, that's all part of what we just discussed on Tuesday.
I thought this was hilarious. Quote from Cash Gary today that said, "We will not repeat the past mistake of cutting rates once the economy weakens." How is that any different from 2 years ago, Powell at Jackson Hole saying we will not repeat the past mistakes of hiking rates the first time inflation picks up. Therefore, we're going to go to inflation averaging and try to get above 2% before we have to even think about hiking rates. So they waited and they waited and they waited, and inflation went to 10%, even on CPI. They're going to make the same freaking mistake now. They're going to wait and they're going to wait. And the destruction, the economic destruction, is going to be far more severe than they claim, than their little forecast claim. We went through that last week, how bogus all their forecasts are. They're still projecting 0.2 GDP for this year. Oh my God, these people are absolute buffoons. Oh, jeez.
On Wednesday, we discussed this tweet from our friend Steve St. Angelo at the SRS Rocker Report. Premiums on what's called junk silver are soaring, which is usually a sign of a pretty tight silver market. So that was part of our discussion. Again, Wednesday, September 28th.
And then there's this from Steve St. Angelo. Many of us track this. I remember back in the day, we used to watch this back in 2011 and 12 and 13. The premium on bags of junk silver. Now the highest it has been since 2009. How about that? People, again, there are a lot of reasons to buy bags of, actual silver coins. Junk silver, as they call it. And well, if facing a big crisis, maybe can't get your hands on anything else. Anyway, shows you how perhaps supply is short. Anyway, I just thought this was an interesting little chart from our buddy Steve St. Angelo.
Our Thursday conversation this week was with my old friend Ned Naylor. Leyland manages one of the largest gold and silver and precious metal mining funds in the world out of London. You should listen. It is a free conversation. Just go to the TF Metals Report homepage and give it a listen. And on Friday, and I apologize for having lost my voice, but it's important that you know that the S&P 500 has fallen into definite perilous territory we've been writing since April about a drop to the 200-week moving average, which is exactly where it closed on Friday. It also closed below its previous intra-week low, which is extremely bearish. And so with the jobs report coming next Friday, the S&P 500 is set for a very, very important week next week. If it falls farther, it could go all the way down to 3,000, as we've been warning for several weeks now. We are officially on crash warning. Liquidations in the equity markets will lead to liquidations in all markets. So be mindful, be alert, and we'll see what happens next week. Thank you again for listening to this week's TF Metals podcast highlights. I'll have another one of these reports for you next week.